and you'll see at the bottom of the screen recording has started. This is just so that I can take a recording of it and then send it to anybody else who's interested who couldn't make it today. In terms of the session, I'll speak for about 20 minutes or so, and during that time I've got two main aims. The first is to show you how to import content from last semester's Moodle site into your forthcoming Moodle site. So that's a simple question of importing content. And then the second thing, I want to give you an overview of London South Banks University's Moodle baseline. So that's really just what sort of content you need to put into your Moodle module. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to load up the Moodle site, the live Moodle site, and talk through how that's done. So it will take a couple of seconds to load, but you should see in front of you now the actual Moodle site. So what I'm going to do is, most of you will probably be familiar with this. So we've gone into the Moodle dashboard. I'm going to go into an empty module. So this would be a module that you're going to teach starting probably in the next couple of weeks or so. So this one is called 1819 e-learning, but as you can see, there's no content in there as such. And what we need to do is import the content from last semester or from a previous module. So to do so, what you need to do is scroll down or to the bottom of the page, and you'll see on the left hand side a heading Administration. So you need to choose the import link, which is the third link from the bottom. So click on Import, and you need to find the course that you are going to import. So what Moodle does, it chooses 10 of the modules that you're previously enrolled on, and if one of those is the course that you want to import, then you just click on the radial button. So if it was a BA in fashion marketing, you would click on that and then press continue. But the module that I'm looking for hasn't come up, so I'm going to search for it. So I type in the name or partial name, I'm going to search for it, and this is the one here. It's 1819 Moodle baseline template. So then I click on the button there and then click continue. And then first of all, it gives you a page with the backup settings. So by default all of these settings are ticked, but I'm going to untick the bottom one which says include groups and groupings. This is because I don't want to bring the groups from my old module into my new one, so I'm going to untick that. Then I click next, and next it gives you a list of what you want to include from your old module into the new one. Again, by default all of these are ticked. I'm going to untick one, so that's the announcements forum, which I don't want copied over, so I'm going to untick that. But everything else I want included, all the content there, so I'll leave that all ticked. I'll scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on next. And then the next page just gives me a summary of what I've actually decided to import. So you can see the two things I've excluded are include groups and groupings, and I've excluded announcements. So I can't make any changes to that, and therefore I go perform import, which is clicking on the bottom of the page. there you can see in front of you, it won't take long at all. So it should take about maybe 15 or 20 seconds or so to actually do the import. And when it's actually complete, you'll see a green column in front of you that says import complete. Click and continue to return to course, so which I've done, so I'll click here, continue, and what I can see there is that I've imported the content from last semester's term into this one. As you can see, if I'd have imported the announcements, I'd have had 2 announcement forums there, but I only want 1. But if that did happen, it's easy enough to delete. So this is the content of the new course that I've imported. Right, so that's relatively easy to do. It is possible that you might have to do some adjustments. So I can see here, for example, that I might need to rename a couple of these sections here, so the first 2 sections. So to rename a section, again, is relatively easy to do, so turn editing on, and then next to the first section heading, if I want to edit the topic, I just put edit topic name, I click on the little pen icon, and I can rename that overall guide, and then click return, and you can see that that's changed, that heading there has changed. The next section I actually want to change as well, so it's relatively easy to do that. So click on the pen icon and I can change that to assessment and feedback. So if I turn the editing back on, we can see we've got the first 3 sections and then the weekly content. And what we've got in front of you is the template, which is based around London South Bank University's Dell baseline. So by which I mean is what you need to include into all of your modules. So again, for the next couple of minutes, I'm just going to go briefly through this. I will show you where you can get a guide up in the Moodle help a bit later on, which gives you a paper-based guide to everything I'm just about to say, and that's available to everyone. But let me just go through this particular module. So at the top of the page, all modules should have an announcements forum. This is for you as the lecturer, where you can place announcements to your students. It's a one-way dialogue, so the students can't reply to you on this forum, but it would include sort of weekly updates, maybe something about their next assignment, room changes, that sort of thing. The second forum at the top of the page is again something that the Dell baseline that recommends that you actually incorporate into your module, is a Meet the Peers forum as well, a space where the students can introduce themselves. This is really useful because the students will probably have access to the module before you even have a face-to-face session. Also, if they start using a sort of introductory forum, they're more likely to use the forums when you come onto sort of learning activities later in the course. So those are 2 useful tools to have at the top of the page. The next 3 sections I'll go through in a little bit more detail as well. So if I click on the first one, the first section, we've got an overall guide to what should be included in the module. So again, our recommendations that you include 4 different items. So the first one is a Moodle module orientation. So in this is an example here, in this one it's a PowerPoint, but this should include, this is guidance to the students of what's expected of them in the Moodle module. So for example, how many hours, how much time they should be spending in the module, and whether you're expecting them to contribute to discussion forums, maybe something about the assessment when it is, and where the content is, and that sort of thing. The second thing that you should include is a module guide. To be honest, you probably already produced this, so it's just a simple question of uploading the guide. There's a PDF example here. Thirdly, there should be the module team contact details. So if I click on here, we've got details about the module leader, the lecturer, so their contact details, email, telephone, room, and when they're available as well. Also, this is a good example because it gives a course administrator as well. So if the students are having problems more with the admin side of things, they know exactly where to go to see their course administrator in their individual school. And then the final link is to the module evaluation questionnaire. So this can be added again by the lecturer, and again it's a simple tool that students can click onto when they're towards the end of their module, providing the lecturer feedback on what the students thought of the module. So that's the first section. The second section, again, it's a very good idea to have it at the top of the page, is on assessment and feedback. So straight away the students can see exactly where their assignments are. So if I click on here, we've got some examples in this section. So what's expected are the assignment briefs and the submission points. So we've got assignment brief here 1, so this is a description of what's expected of the student, what they need to do, but just as importantly is the assignment submission area as well. So this is indicated by this little icon here with the hand and the paper where the students can actually submit their piece of work. So there's 2 assignment briefs, 3 assignment briefs, and 3 assignment submission areas here in this particular example. Also, it's a good idea to give some students some sort of details about their expectations, especially if it's an exam-based course or there are tests during the semester as well. Okay, so I think that's relatively clear in terms of what's expected there. The third section is headed Resources and Learner Support. And again, examples of the sort of things that needed to be included in this area. So at the top of the page here, we've got a module frequently asked questions. So this is a forum, a discussion area where students can ask questions, and over time you'll build up some FAQs, and hopefully you can add some answers to them where students can go for questions specifically about your particular module. Again, other good practice is the module study guide. Again, expectations about what's expected about the students on this particular module. And then we've got here 2 examples. One, a sample essay or assignment. So this could be examples of good work, or even work that's just a pass, or examples of things that typical mistakes that maybe students have made in the past. And likewise, we've got a sample exam questions as well. So these may be from previous semesters, obviously indicating you probably won't get the same questions again. Alright, so those are the first 3 sections which give the students sort of guidance, indications of where to submit their work, and support. The rest of the page is divided up into weekly content. So in this example there are 9 weeks of the course, and again, if I take you into the first week, it shows you a good example of how to lay out the content on a weekly basis. So we've got subheadings, 3 subheadings. The first one, lecture notes and slides. So in this case, we've got the lecture slides that have been uploaded as a PDF document. so the students can go into it, maybe see them in their own time and space after the lecture. This is really good for students who maybe English is not their first language. And likewise, you might even have recorded part of the lecture, in which case you can upload a video or part of a video that may be useful in terms of what you did that particular week. Secondly, we've got additional resources and activities. So again, we've got another PDF document there, but it could be really good to actually provide a link to an external website. So we've got a URL here, and then the third section is further study. So these might be resources that are not completely essential, but kind of extension activities that would enable the students to go on and pursue the topic in a little bit more detail. So it's really up to you in terms of what type of content you provide there. Maybe it's links to other websites, maybe it's further reading or further discussion areas. So the rest of the page is pretty much set up in that format. So you can see week 1 to week 9 has a similar headings. When the content does get copied over, it might be the case that one of these latter weeks is actually empty. If that's the case, it's a really good idea to actually delete those weeks. Students coming into it might have thought, they're not often conscious of which weeks they are, and they might think because there's a week there with nothing in it, it's because the content has not been uploaded. So if you're not using one of those weekly folders, you need to delete it. That's easily done by turn editing on at the top of the page, so the button on the right hand side, and then if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, right to the bottom of the page, you will see where it says add content, and or if you wanted to delete a section, you'd click on the edit and then hit the delete button there. So it's easily done. Okay, so that's it in terms of the essential content. There is a final section again, which again at the bottom of the page it says external examiners content. This section is deliberately hidden. So again, this is another section that's being created, and in there you can include content for the external examiners. All the external examiners have access to your whole module, so you don't need to put individual assignments in there or copy content in there, because they'll have access to those. But you must make sure that that section is hidden from the students, and again that's easily done. Turn editing on and go to the relevant section and click on the edit button and hide topic, and then you can see it's grayed out when that actually happens, so the students can't actually see it. Okay, that's it in terms of a brief introduction to uploading new content that's copied over from last semester. It's given you a very brief guide to the baseline content of what goes into a module. If you want further help, if you go to the top left hand of the top left hand of the screen and click on Moodle help, it shows you 3 different places where you can get help. So the first is if you click here for online help material. Again, this is really useful space for lecturers, and then click on the help sheets. Again, we have help sheets on all aspects, so all the things I've just talked about in terms of discussion areas, adding content, video, adding sections, adding all sorts of things, or activities, or what have you. There's basically a guide for each and every single one of those. Also, there's a document at the bottom of the page, as you can see, Dell baseline requirements for all Moodle modules. So if you want to know what sort of information needs to go into your module, if you click on there, you can have a look, and it lists in some detail all the different things I've just gone through. Okay. Also, in terms of help, you can actually book help face-to-face sessions. So there's a link to the iTrent on here as well, which is probably in the process of just being set up at the start of term. And then if you have any technical difficulties, these are the contact details at the ICT service desk at the bottom of the page. Okay, all right, I'm just going to go back now to my presentation slides. So hopefully you can see now the slides in front of you, and if I just scroll through to the last few slides, I've already shown the further support, so I don't need to go through that again. There are future webinars that will be planned basically on almost a weekly basis throughout the year. So these details will be put up on the intranet and will be advertised through Yammer. So on various dates, so approaches to providing electronic feedback. So that's sort of a more detailed description of using rubrics, setting up and managing group assignments in Moodle, anonymous marking, a Moodle Scythe help check, and tomorrow at 1 o'clock there will be a webinar on what's new in Moodle, which will discuss some of the new features. Okay, that's it for today. My contact details are there, so it's Chris Rowell, so it's rowlc@lsbu.ac.uk if you need to get in touch. I can see there haven't been really any questions, but I'll leave a discussion area up for a few more minutes. Okay, thank you very much everyone, and if you want to tune in tomorrow, there'll be another webinar at 1 o'clock. Thank you.